Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 14th episode of Hidden Layers Diversity in Design. Today, I have the opportunity to speak with one of the most amazing artists I know for now. His name is Troy Browne. Please, Troy, tell us who you are, what you do, and where you live, actually.
Yeah, sure, David. So as stated, I'm Troy Browne. I'm a sort of UK-based collage multimedia. I don't know. Am I a generalist? I don't know because I do sort of animation, mograph, stills, 3D stuff sometimes. Yeah, I don't really sort of put myself in a box, but I'd say yeah, collage artist is what sort of is used most of the time. Um,
Okay.
been been freelance for I don't know actually maybe like 10 years now.
Hmm.
Um, and it all my sort of collage journey really started sort of in COVID, when there wasn't much work going around. So I was sort of messing around with new styles and had the opportunity to work on this video. And I was like, right, I'm going to make this a collage thing. And ever since then, it's kind of snowballed and sort of I've sort of gone down this collage route more,
Hmm.
and that's just basically just throwing everything at a project. So yeah, I was born in Nottingham, but now I live in Derby, which is um, a quieter city, let's say, just down the
Hmm.
road. And I'm there now. Um, yeah, well, I can't
Yeah.
think of anything else.
I love when you describe yourself because even me, knowing you from so long, sometimes I don't know how to put a title on what you do because literally you dive into so much. And it's actually, I would define yourself just like an artist because for me, apart the collage, yeah, I see how you integrate collage with illustration, with animation, with 3D work. So it's just interesting how far you brought your collage work. And I think like saying just collage artist minimize you in my view, because I just think how far you brought it is really incredible. So I have an initial question for you. Have you always been very artistic since a child, and when do you discover, you said you discovered collage during COVID time, but was it something you already played earlier in life, or you just discovered it at that
Um,
time?
Yeah, not necessarily collage stuff. I've
Mm-hmm.
always, as a kid, was drawing turtles and my favorite like cartoon characters and making up characters and doodling when I shouldn't be at school. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say I did very well at school. I don't know, for some reason that environment didn't wasn't sort of right for me to learn. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what that was, but yeah, I've always sort of drawn, and my mum has always, I don't know if she'd been gaslighting me forever, but she's I can she's always said that she could see me sort of having a career in art and design, like forever. So I feel like that might have um given me that sort of belief that that's what I want to do. So I've always, throughout my whole life, like I've drawn, except for one time actually. So I didn't do very well at school, and then I actually went to an art college straight after school. For some reason, they let me in. So and I did quite well, but after that, I kind of dropped off. So for about 6 years, actually, I didn't do any sort of art. I mean, I was doing
Mm.
sketchbooks and stuff in my own time just for
Okay.
fun, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't pursue it seriously. I was just
Okay.
working jobs like office work, temp work, like gardening work. Like I've had so many jobs. I guess that's almost like my art now is quite
Mm-hmm.
varied, and my work was quite varied as well. I've done so many
Yeah.
different jobs. I'd never ever been very good at anything. So
Mm-hmm.
and I do remember there was this one time that I was working in an office, and I know it just like just clicked in me. It's like, right, I can't do this, so I'm gonna do the thing that's like easiest for me to do, which is art. So
Yeah.
I went down that route, and applied for uni
Mm-hmm.
quite late in life actually. When I was 25 is when I went to university. So
Wow.
so from school up until 25, I was basically just lost. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I was just basically one taking every day at a time, and it was like the worst probably yeah it's probably the worst time in my life really because obviously I didn't know at the time, but I needed to be pursuing art um
Hmm.
because yeah ever since then it's been much better for me.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was kind of scared of going to uni because it always seemed like a lofty goal for some reason. I'm from a like a council estate. None of my family ever went to university. It didn't seem like a realistic thing. It was like something that you would think about when you was a lot younger. But
Hmm.
I was just like, I'm just gonna go for it. And I went to my university interview with like these like tattered like sketchbooks that I've just been messing around with,
Hmm.
and I think from that point, the my college tutor um from that point when he saw them and he could sort of see that there was something there and he was saying like the right things, to have someone from a university that was like praising me and was like he was like so like excited that I was
Yeah.
applying that he wanted me on the course. Like from that point,
Hmm.
I actually got like a small bit of encourage no, a
Yeah.
big encouragement to sort of pursue it. And ever since then it's kind of my confidence has grown and grown and grown.
It lets you believe
Um
in your potential. I think it's funny because you look like a twin brother to me. I'm not joking. Like soon we're gonna have a chat even about the past. But I feel like the fact that you started even later in life, university, has definitely I did it as well in my 20s, so I quit for 8 years. I started working because my father passed. Unfortunately, I wanted to help my family, and then I just came to a point where I said, listen, I need to go back somehow into the arts. And when I came to London, I had like a foundation degree, three in one to take your degree, and I just took it, but I was like the oldest there, so I understand exactly where you come from, especially coming from council estate, same life here, but it's funny that I think that if I pursue it earlier, I wouldn't have had the impact that I have now. Just because I feel like I took it slightly more serious at an older age. Was that the same thing for you? Because I feel like you feel like you're running out of time. If it's not now, I would just ruin the whole situation. Right? Correct?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, that really stands out because when I went to university, it wasn't, I think a lot of people, and rightly so, and it's a good call, go for that social element.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go for that social element. I was there to sort of like learn. Not that I was like, alienating people or anything like that. It was nothing like that. I had just a different motivation
Mm-hmm.
and I took it way more seriously, I think, than some of the people around me. And yeah, 100%. I was just a little bit more focused, and I think I was running on adrenaline because I was in this place I never thought I'd be, and I was doing well at it more than I thought I ever could, and that does so much for your self-esteem that. I was like, right, let's go, let's keep going, let's keep going. And I was learning stuff and it was so exciting. Just that's when I sort of learned some 3D stuff, and I used to do
Mm-hmm.
tutorials like all night, and that was fun to me. That was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
doing tutorials and learning stuff and going, oh, okay, and then oh, so that's how they do that, and then you getting ideas.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I knew I was in the right space because it was exciting for me.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's cool to know that you sort of had a similar thing. You go a bit later, you've got different motivations, you're at a different stage of life, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that can help for sure.
Yeah, and I agree on you, with you. Like the one of the thing is like even I never believe I will ended up in a place like this and finish a course. So when I had that paper, for me was one of the biggest achievement, but not just because it's a paper, because I was one of the only one in my family to get one. So it was like a superhero level kind of achievement. But I have to admit that university as well, just as you said, I think is the place where I've learned the most, not even from teachers, but being surrounded by people doing different things within the design element. Because obviously, you know me as an illustrator, but when I just did illustration, I wasn't working as much as I wanted. Then when I introduced animation and things like that, then things start transforming. You know, I expanded clientele. Was it the same for you? Do you started actually? My question: do you started static as well, or you immediately went into mixed media, animation, 3D straight away when you started your career?
Yeah, I think the first sort of design job that I had was motion graphics,
Mm,
so After Effects. And funnily enough, I didn't actually learn After Effects at university. I was on like a teaching course, and the requirement was that I sort of taught After Effects, but I didn't know After Effects, so I had to teach myself After Effects and then create tutorials. So that's kind of how I taught myself After Effects. So my first job was in motion design. So throughout that whole thing, I was creating, yeah, I was designing other people's assets essentially for
hmm
a long time. I went to
hmm
a video production company that was motion design, but they also needed character stuff too. So I was creating a lot of assets at that point, and that was kind of pulling from my drawing experience that I've had throughout my whole life. That creating these characters and then animating them. So they've kind of gone in tandem throughout my whole sort of career is animation. Um, so yeah, and even now I really like to do still stuff as well.
hmm
Um, and that's like the more fashion based stuff, and that is the easiest work for me is doing the stills. I mean, when you sort of bring in
Yeah,
animation, it's a whole new layer. It's like
yeah,
you can do a still, but then you're like, oh, how is this going to move? And then you're basically rigging that thing to do that thing, and then it gets quite technical.
hmm
So yeah, they've been just going, in tandem
hmm
throughout. And I just like to make little videos sometimes. It's just a little bit more engaging, a little bit more fun.
yeah. And how was your journey navigating becoming a freelancer? Like I know we touched bases a little bit before, but I think you had an agent before, and now are you still with an agent?
Yeah, no, I had a brief stint with an agent, and it was quite fun working with them because I think as a freelancer, I mean, I've worked at home since COVID. Like,
hmm
I've not worked in an office since that time, and
Okay.
it gets a little bit lonely, I must say. I
Yeah.
quite like having colleagues and things to bounce off of, and going somewhere is quite a nice thing to do, to go and do some
Yeah.
work as opposed to just, coming into my like dining room and on
Yeah.
my computer. So an agent came along and wanted to work with me, and that was good. I really like working with the people.
hmm
But maybe I'm greedy, but the percentages were off, and it felt it like this the exclusive arrangement that I had
hmm
with the agency didn't really work because I kind of like to do jobs that aren't that good for the pocket. Sometimes there's an
Yeah.
artist that hasn't got much budget, and I actually want to work with them, and I feel like
Yeah.
the agency was like
Still
almost
taking.
having a say, and
Okay.
yeah, that didn't. I like to be like freelance. I like to do exactly what I want to do. And I feel
Now
like
the
with an
reason
agent,
the reason why I'm asking you is because I've changed agent as well. I think it's also part of. I mean, the percentage is the percentage. Like on the side they do the work, but it also depends. Uh, uh, Not every agent is a. Not to talk bad about agents, but not every agent is a good agent for you. You know, because especially when you do small projects with people, some people don't even take a cut on that because they are literally just. But there are some agents that take literally everything. So it's I don't know how to say it. But I think one thing, the reason why I ask you if you had an agent is. I think for me back then, I used to overwork myself, and I used to take pennies for big, massive projects back in the days because I didn't know how to value myself as an artist. Do you think, will you recommend other artists within the field actually to try an agent just to learn how to? value themselves commercially, because I think a lot of us, we don't really have a clear understanding of how much you can charge when it's brands like Coca-Cola or Nickelodeon at the very beginning. And sometimes if we deal with it alone, we actually, I don't want to say get robbed, but you know what I mean? We undersell ourselves so much.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean what came out of the agent was sort of usage, things like that. This is something that I would
Yes.
never have billed for before, or
Hmm.
been aware of, and sort of it was a better insight into how to deal with the industry in a way, how to charge correctly, like I say, with the usage. They were, yeah, big things that I kind of take forward into my solo sort of freelance career. I mean, I do speak with agents,
Hmm.
and I think once, something clicks with the right one, I'd be
Yeah.
more than willing. And even the agent that I was signed with, I'm sort of off the books, but I still work with them, and
Hmm.
I'm more than happy for them to sort of, we can work out the percentage if
Hmm.
they have, brought that project into me.
Hmm.
That seems totally fair to me, completely. And like I say, there's so much to learn from them because they're sort of, they're in that industry too. So, um, yeah, from that agent, from not being with the agent anymore, I definitely learned things going forward for other clients and build
Hmm.
up, appropriately, and sort of got an idea of the value and the going rate for,
Hmm.
such services. So yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely helped me out for sure.
I guess it gives you also that sort of confidence, like when you're in the room, you're just confident about asking a price. Rather before not having confidence, people can feel in this industry when you are not confident enough, and when they can actually try to go lower than what you want, just by the fact that you don't know how to stay solid on your opinion. Because let's be honest, if you break down the prices, licensing, usage, and everything, everybody will be like, okay, fair enough, then that makes sense. But people try to play around with you when you don't know these little things. If I can ask you, Troy, what was, if you can share with us, what was one of the most difficult parts in becoming the artist that you are today? Do you encounter any issue, or was there something you didn't know that created you obstacles while growing as an artist?
Yeah, I think it's always about sort of self-confidence, feeling whether you can sort of deliver, because there's pressure, I think, when you do art, is that they're paying for a promise, a promise that you can pull out of your head, something that works, like that. There's a lot of pressure to that because, you're starting with something blank, you're being paid to do something, based on the brief, and
Mm-hmm.
you've got to make it, you make that thing appear, like out of nothing. And that there's a lot of pressure to that because as an artist or designer or anyone or creative, you're constantly like self-talking throughout the whole thing,
Yeah.
and it's about how much
Yeah.
you can handle that,
Mm-hmm.
and what you can tell yourself. I mean, you'd be making creative decisions, like really small ones, like, oh, this needs pulling out a little bit more. That's going on, but also there's that layer of like, oh, the client's going to hate this particular thing.
Yeah.
What are those people going to be thinking of this thing? And that's not quite right. And I look like an amateur there. That's, constantly. So
Yeah.
that the biggest challenge is sort of like remaining, you know, true to what you want to do,
What you want to do?
um, and sort of believing in yourself and telling yourself like, no, no, look, think about all the work that you've done. I mean, this is happening whilst
Hmm.
you're working,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
constantly just like talking yourself up and down and trying to find that balance and also taking in the feedback, trying to consider. There's quite a lot to it, and I think that is quite a challenging thing,
Hmm.
about creative work is those voices in your head as you're going through it and
Yeah.
sort of like sticking with it, and just, and not just like but giving up and just going, look, this is just a bit too, the mental anguish
Yeah.
can be strong, but you know, but
But I think
the
it's
best
also
thing is
because
sort of breaking.
we are always alone as well, you know. I think that is one of the main one of the main problem, that being alone sometimes, as you said before, you are at home all the day, so when you don't have a team where you can actually have feedback back and forth, you kind of imagining everything, even if it's not wrong, you question it 1,000 times, you know.
Yeah, 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 constantly, and even you know when you get feedback, that time when you've done some work and it's time for the feedback round. And then when you're sort of, I feel like that first feedback part is one of the hardest bits because especially if there's a lot of feedback, the self doubt is there, because
Yeah.
you're sort of like reading the feedback's repeating in your head. The worst part because you're especially if there has been like lots of feedback, you think, oh, because there is this much feedback, that means I got it this wrong. That means I'm on the
Yeah.
wrong course. This means I'm not
Hmm.
very good at this. This means this is bad. They don't like it. They're regretting everything. They're regretting working with me. I think experience teaches you like just to keep going through that. The
Yeah.
feedback's there for a reason. They're coming at it from a completely different
Hmm.
point of view as an
Yeah.
outsider, and you've just got to try and make that work, but at the same time have your touch to that. But it's like it can be like Chinese whispers. If you know that game,
Yeah.
someone tells you one thing and it's about how that's sort of perceived and retold to another.
Yeah.
And there can be a lot of doubt and questions in that part. But you just stick through it, and and then when you get let's say you get some great feedback at the end, it's
Hmm.
all you did it, and then you can
Hmm.
tell yourself that on the next project. Oh, remember that time when we had that bad feedback and we got through it, and in the end it looked really good, and the client had some really good points, and that's actually
Hmm.
helped you out for the next thing. Like, you just need to remain positive, I think, and just keep
Yeah.
going for sure.
Yeah. No, no, that's super true. Like, yeah, there's nothing you can do because even if you train your mind to get better and try to avoid questioning yourself, I think in each of us we have some sort of. I don't want to say we are perfectionists, but we want to see it in a specific way. So when we are not there, your mind just goes there automatically. So I have another question for you, Troy. Like, obviously, I know you are a dad. I'm a dad too. I wanted to know how is life having kids? How do you deal with burnouts? And is it something that you plan better in your life right now, or you always try to, bounce in between everything?
Mhm. Yeah, I wish I could plan. Yeah, I wish I could plan, but I just kind of roll with it and take every day as it comes. I mean, it does.
Okay.
I mean, having kids, it is hard because I like to work when it's quite quiet. So in the evenings and things like that. That's generally like, the house is quiet, the world's
Yeah.
quiet. That's kind of like my jam. I put my headphones on, I start working.
Yeah.
And that's when I sort of like felt like I was doing my better stuff when it was,
Hmm.
you know. But I think when you've got to get up in the morning and take the kids to school, and at the weekends, I used to really like working at the weekends, but
Yeah.
when I say working, I mean creating things. It's not
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
like paid work. It's just having fun or just working on
Yeah.
something. You can't. I don't do that at the weekends. The weekends is
Yeah.
pure family activities. We're doing
Yeah.
this, and then Saturday night I'm knackered. I'm done. I don't
Yeah.
really tend to want to come in, and then I do think, and I would never regret having kids, but I do think, oh, okay, so, if I did have that time, like, how different could it be?
Yeah.
But like, I'm not 100%. I would, you know, having kids is enriched my life
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
more than I think any art project could. So.
Yeah.
But I'm just sort of thinking, at those times when I'm just completely wiped out from entertaining the kids, doing things with the kids, which I love
Yeah.
doing. like what would that look like? I mean, it's probably not even worth thinking about because
Yeah.
it's not a reality, you know, it's not nothing that we have to deal with. So it is hard. Yeah, and you know that.
I think looking at your history, I think like you produce a lot, and I think even when I spoke with Matt Voice, you, me, like when you produce a lot, there's this I don't know, I don't want to say it's a OCD thing or like, but I need to produce daily, you know. So if you are that kind of person, I understand you because on the back of your head. That drawing, that trying something new, it's almost like your baby. It's not a physical thing, but it's like something living in you that you need to do. And but I get it. Saturdays and Sunday, I'm off now, so like it's my boy time. You
yeah,
know, like stay with him, play
yeah,
with him. But then at the end of the day, I work at night in the weekends. Even if I go to bed at 3, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I'm up again because I know that's just the time for him. Sometimes he knock the door,
yeah,
he just drag me out, you know. So it's, but
yeah,
yeah, I think, but I think for us it's more the fact of because we produce a lot, there's always this back feeling that I don't feel guilty about, but I just feel like sometimes we imagine what could we have done with that time. But in reality is, I mean, I agree, the love of your kid is the best thing you can ever have in life. So I will never change it with anything. But yeah, could be actually that going to this question, is having a studio something that you will consider? Like, not in your house, maybe
um,
in the future, having your own space.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think I would love that. I think the next house that I'd get that would be like a big consideration is sort of having a
Okay.
space that was a little bit away from the house, but in the grounds, let's say,
And
where
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
was my studio, you know, and sort of having that. I mean, I've got my idyllic setup in my head, and that's kind
Hmm.
of what I look to, you know, as I sort of go on. So yeah, that's definitely something I want.
Okay.
But we've had some quotes and it just gets quite expensive.
Yeah,
So I've
yeah,
not
sure.
really been able to pull that trigger at the moment. But yeah,
Yeah.
ideally I would, yeah, have that.
Hopefully soon, man. Hopefully, bring in some more projects
Yeah.
for you, man. No, no, I really hope for you.
Yeah, we'll
Because I
see.
think like when you
Yeah,
have two,
thank you.
it's always like difficult making decision like this. Because you know, two kids are like a big responsibility. So it's almost like you think more about them than anything that is for you. You know, they come always first. And wow. Another thing, like, is what do you see yourself? What would be your main goal? What would you like to achieve, like, in the next years or so? Because I think, like, I've seen you in so many places, so many areas, so many. Actually, have you ever done an exhibition, a personal exhibition, like a solo exhibition?
No, no, I haven't done anything like that. And in regards to plans, I think I need some plans because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit just aimless, you know. I kind of like
Yeah.
do the work that comes in, and sometimes that's too much, and I get burnt out, and I need a break,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then you know there's a bit of downtime, and I work on some bits, but it's all very short term. I really want some like long term goals because I've got so many ambitions, let's say, but I'm not aimed towards anything. I'm not focused at the moment. Like I
Mm-hmm.
want to do almost like everything. I want to, you know, start making short films or there is like a not a documentary, but I want to start doing these interviews with the elderly and sort
Mm-hmm.
of animating their stories.
Mm-hmm.
That is something I'm closer to doing than anything else. My partner's granddad, he's 100 years old. And when we go to see
Wow.
him, like they're bored of his stories. But when he's telling me the stories, I'm like thinking, like, oh, do you know what? This could be actually quite cool if, you know,
You
we
understand what I
interview
mean?
him and we cut back to these animations of his life. And I was thinking, you know what? I think all the elderly have the best stories. It's, you know,
Yeah.
they've almost like they've done that stuff and they're telling the story at the
Yeah.
end, you know, or
Yeah.
not their life, but I mean, you know, towards the end. And
You should definitely
You know,
do
they've
it
got a full
because
story.
for them it will be like the greatest gift, almost to have like their grandpa always living through your animation. That I think like that would be a wonderful thing as well. Like not only for the animation, but even for your family, you know, to remember him, his stories through the animated character, you know, that's beautiful. Plus, you should definitely, I can see you doing something like that. And I think the way you actually animate is very particular because it kinds of, I don't know, is your way of animating is very different sometimes, and I look at it in a way of like, because it's collage, it's moving, it's a bit 3D, but it's also giving you that illusion. Plus I saw what you did with the music. Do you do music as well, or you're just a big fan of
No, no.
music?
Yeah, I love music and I wish I could make music, to be honest. I mean, if
Okay.
I was to choose an art form, I think it would be
Yeah.
I wish I was like really good at making music. Like I try and I dabble and I mess around, but it's not that easy for me. But yeah, I mean, I try and make the visual representation of the song that I'm listening to a lot of the time. And sometimes that comes across. I think it does because a lot of people do mention that, you know, it kind of looks very musicy,
Yeah,
whatever that means. But I think that comes across.
I will
And I
describe it
yeah,
the
I love
same.
music.
I would describe it the same
Yeah.
because when I started seeing your work, like even like, you know, like the hip hop head doing like this, but the whole image, the flow of it, it just drags you inside because of how it moves. Because it's weird if you look at it in reality, but because your kind of collage is distorted, but is real, but at the same time you have that animation of it's just amazing, man. Even was it the Google work, the latest thing you showed on social?
Yeah, so yeah, the Google one, the sort of Jay Dilla one, I worked
Yeah.
with Matthew Haynes, and he's a traditional cell animator. He
Hmm.
worked for Adult Swim, I think was it Common Side Effects? Yeah, that was the show. He's
Okay.
done lots of other things, and we had been sort of messaging each other and chatting on Instagram. Um, and then we're talking about doing a project, but then one from YouTube came, you know, the Udall thing, you know, the logo.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if we could sort of like combine his cell and traditional animation styles with my style. So I would work on design and he would work on the animation. And
Wow.
yeah, so that's with that Dilla one, that's how we did that too. So um but I'm not I don't think I'm like the best animator at all, like especially character animator. You know, you can sort of recognize that in some people that
Hmm.
they're just like that's their thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the time you should collaborate with other people. But I will always do animations because
Yeah.
no matter how
Will you?
I make it move, and that's a unique
Will
thing.
you?
So
Will you say you're a moving graphics guy? You know, like because even me, I'm not an animator, but I just move things. So when people ask me, it's just
yeah,
like I just say I move things, you know, because then I don't have the skill of creating like a full blown story, like frame by frame animation, if it makes sense, you know.
yeah, definitely. I'm definitely not like that cell animator, and you know, I don't have those sort of like fundamentals. I do know that I enjoy it, um, and I know that animation is painful. I felt that pain, so maybe
Yeah.
I'm an animator, but I'm not at that level. I would
Okay.
say, yeah, I'm sort of, yeah, I do like the motion. I'm such a like an all rounder, but not necessarily like amazing at anything. So,
Hmm.
um,
But
maybe the vision or something.
I think it's because you see you. That's the same thing I think about myself. But I think definitely, I will say this because I've seen you and I see what came after you. It's like when you came out, you created your own style. Doesn't matter. I can put a stamp on it because when you came out at the time, I thought, wow, this guy is super fresh. It's like, I've never seen something like this. And I really mean it because I used to do collage art back in the days. I used to know a lot of people doing collage art, but when your stuff came out, I was like, damn, this guy just, it's just because you did collage from same elements, but then you make something bigger, something smaller. Rather, other people will always try to find different pieces from different places and then combine them together. Rather, you just did it differently, man. And then when you start growing, I start seeing so many people from the young generation. I met a few people that I definitely think have been inspired by you. Even some people that I follow, I know they got inspired by you, but maybe they will not say it, but you can see it from the way they approach the work. And when I see the approach they have, you'll be like, do you know Troy? Yeah, 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 I know Troy. But you can tell that the inspiration comes from that. So you have to take your flowers sometimes, man. I think like as artists, we work hard, we want to get better, but it's also good sometimes being recognized for the work that you put out, because I think you just don't come from nowhere. You just did something that stood out and you work so hard for it, because I know how much you used to publish as well. I know you do collaboration, and I'm a big guy when it comes to collaboration. Last year I've done 100 with different artists, and I just think like that's the right way to evolve yourself, work with people, and as you said, being alone at home, that's the best way to actually talk to people, do something together, have a week work with them, and then go to another artist. You learn, they learn, and you guys kind of grow up together, you know?
Yeah.
Have you ever done animation with Matt? You did, right?
Voice.
Voice.
Yeah,
I
we
think so.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We
another
did a little
one of
thing
my
together.
favorites. One of my favorite type animators. So when I saw your work, I was like, "Shit, I need to do one with you." By the way, yeah, I'm waiting. Can't wait to see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting because yeah, I'd say your art is really crisp and vector, and bold. And I think
Yeah.
mine's quite JPEGy, it's photographs. So I think there could be a really good way where maybe I do the character and you do the surrounding elements or something like that.
Hmm.
Maybe something like that could work, and I could sort of add some animation to that. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that. I think that yeah, there's so many people I'd like to like do something with, but I think sometimes you just got to be in the mood,
Listen,
have the
yeah.
free time,
I think
and
it's
then
more
sort of the
sometimes the free
brain
time.
space
I
to do
think
it.
sometimes it's just the
Yeah.
time. That's why I never put pressure on people for that, because sometimes you have all this project coming in, and then you have just 2 day that's why I never put pressure on collaboration. Collaboration just happen when you have enough time to dedicate, those 2 3 days to do something cool together. I just do it because sometimes I'm bored and I don't know what to do, rather than starting
Yeah,
something
yeah,
new.
yeah.
No, because I became so fast in my doing vector work that sometimes I do 3 4 illustration a day, but it's just that speed that helped me now to have more days off than others, but I just love to do stuff in general. But okay, last question, I promise, then I'll let you go. Yeah.
That's okay.
um what is if you can say one thing that you want to create, yeah, can be crazy, can be impossible or whatever, but if there's one thing you can choose that you want to create now or in the future, what will it be?
Um, I want to make a video game, I think, which
Wow.
is I mean, yeah, I'm really into sort of gaming, I'd say. I'm just fascinated by that medium. I just feel like, interactive, um, yeah, media. I just find so. I mean, I've never done it before, and I feel like if I can get it right, it would make sense to what I have been working on for so long. Sort of
Mm-hmm.
dabbling with 3D, creating characters, trying to sort of create a world. The only sort of logical step would be to make a game. But
Mm-hmm.
I've got the game in my head. I know exactly what it looks like. I know exactly how it plays, but I just
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to make it. So, I mean, that's
Okay.
something I'd like to do. But again, I don't really have that one thing. I mean, I'd really want to make like a feature film. I'd want to like create a
Yeah.
world. I want to do something that's like quite big, but I just don't know how to get there.
Like for the film, I
And
wanted to say, like if you do the film, I might know somebody that can you can actually go display it outside England. They have this film festival, so I can maybe link you up. Like if you do like short movies specifically, definitely we can link up on that and then talk further down. But when it comes for gaming, like would you to create your game, would you work with someone else for the
yeah,
potential,
I'd love
the
to.
coding
Somebody who
side?
sort of,
Okay. Go for it. Sorry,
yeah,
man.
that would be ideal. Sorry, I mean it's the delay, isn't it? But the ideal
Yeah.
situation is that I'd work with somebody to do the back end stuff that I don't understand, and I'm not very good at that sort of stuff, like the programming. I'm not there. That's not me. So I
Yeah.
would love to work with someone, and they handled that. I create the world. We work out the systems. So I'd like game direct essentially, and they would do the back end. That would be great. It's a lofty goal because I just know how much goes into that and how long it takes and how much money that is. I would never want to sort of um take advantage of someone else's skills without being able to compensate them. So I'm kind of stuck. I think the next goal is to do these interviews because
Mm-hmm.
not not that I really want to exploit these people that I'm having interviews with. The idea, honestly, would be I kind of do want to connect with people,
Mm-hmm.
and I and I think they would be really nice times to sit down with somebody who I don't know very well
Mm-hmm.
and ask them these things, because you can't. Well, you could, but I never really want to do that to just a random person. Having a
Yeah.
conversation with someone, asking like so many questions and like go deep because you just kind of look like you're being nosy. But in an interview situation, that's what you're there for.
But you
So
know what,
yeah,
man,
I
I'll
want.
be honest with you. I'm like you at the same time, but there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help others. You'll be. That's one thing. That's why I want to do this podcast because sometimes even me for things that I want to do, I don't always have the money. But if I didn't have the community and people around me, there are certain things I wouldn't even know how to get there. But I think there's sincere people out there that want to see you win, and especially on your level, I think is a learn situation. And like even if you find somebody to work for free, but then when the game is developed and things are doing well, obviously you can always compensate them later on. But some people can just be on the journey with you and bring you to where you have to be, and it's a win-win for everyone. So
I would. So if anyone's watching this podcast who makes
yes.
games, right, and if they want to work with me on making this game, I've got it. I know the game. Then yeah, give me a shout for sure. Like, I mean, this could be the
No,
time that
seriously.
someone comes through.
Because if you don't know him, I'll put recommendation for him. His work is absolutely mental. You guys have to see it. So please, everybody watching here, I will put his handle after out on Instagram as well. Show him some love and please reach out to him because he's a fantastic artist. So thank you everybody for today's episode. Troy, man, you've been amazing. Join the podcast and see you everybody very shortly. Ciao, ciao.